Anything amazing you learned from Mickey Drexler?
The business side of things and really kind of believing in the product that you're selling, which sounds kind of silly, but really investing in, because a lot of merchants will, it's almost like a roulette wheel. Like if you put a coin or a bet on every chip or a chip on every number, you're not going to win. Like you end up losing, and a lot of merchants will invest that way. Whereas Mickey would take, big bets on things that he believed in and would always look forward. He would never look backwards to this sold well last year, so therefore I should buy it next year. He was always after like, what is next? He used to always use the phrase, you skate to where the puck is going. The hockey term, essentially, if you're being in hockey, when you're passing the puck, you pass the puck, you skate to where that puck is going, because the puck takes a little while to get somewhere and you're following the puck versus, oh, here's the guy passing the puck. You don't follow him, you follow the puck. So that's always been his analogy.
Well, how did merchants do it in the way you described? The Russian roulette kind of way?
Well, a lot of people look at this sold well last year, let's repeat it and just change the color. Well, this sold well last year, let's repeat it and change the color.
What's wrong with that?
You're not going to move to, then all of a sudden you miss what the next trend is. If all of a sudden,
but can you do a little bit of both?
You definitely hedge. There's a bit of hedging. Like you try to keep your core, and that Mickey was always, it's not like you ever abandon your 5-pocket jeans, for example. That's what sells, and you make sure you're solid in your foundations. And then you always make sure that you have big, because you want to be known for, it depends what part of the fashion kind of business you're in. If you're in a high fashion, you want to make sure you have things that are very new and trendy. If you're in something that you're much more, basic oriented, you want to make sure that you're kind of more, but if you're more fashion affluent, you want to make sure you have that high energy product. Like, Supreme, if they repeated everything over and over again, they would be out of business. But because they always have something new and different that keeps their customer engaged and like, I got to have that, and there's a balance. There's always a balance of having your basics. The thing he would always, complain about is being out of inventory of a white pocket t-shirt. Like, how could you ever have, be out of inventory in that? So you got to make sure you have that, but that's a white pocket tee. That's like your vanilla ice cream. But then you need to make sure what is the new flavor that the customer is going to come in for.
So he was saying you shouldn't ever be out of a white pocket tee.
You should never be out of a white pocket tee. That's a staple. That's something. So there's a balance between it, but a lot of merchants will use that philosophy across the entire.
Got it.
The entire assortment.
Yeah.
Like you always need to make sure. There's a rule that's called the 80-20 rule that you always think about, like, 20% of your assortment drives 80% of your volume. And you're always looking at what that 20% is. And that came out of
20% of your assortment drives 80% of your volume.
Yeah. Well, that's what you want. That's what you want in an ideal scenario. When you're running your own business, if you can ring fence that what drives 80% of your business, generally speaking, it's like 20. And if you're around that breakup, that you have a good, healthy business, because you're not having to reinvent the wheel every season, but you're also not having to buy everything, so you're always trying to kind of keep a healthy balance, and you don't want to have too many styles, and if you looked at my website right now and we have like something like 400, 500 styles on the site. If I had 2,000 styles on the site, it would be really hard for customers to buy kind of what that 80% is. So, or 20% is that represents 80%.
Yeah. You need those hero products, those things that are
you don't want to be all over the
place.
place because then you'll never make money. Because if all of a sudden you have 2,000 styles on your site, customers are going to be all over the place buying. And then good luck trying to sell through the rest that you bought.
Yeah.
And then,
they won't be able to learn you either.
Yeah. And then trying to like scale from that and trying to get economies of scale. Like if you're going to buy this, jacket and you want to be able to give a factory a sizable order, you need to be able to buy, 200 units of something. So it's a sizable order. So you're not getting surcharges.
One of the things I learned about Mickey when I interviewed him was like just his perspective as a merchant, merchant gone CEO, right? And I was consulting for this brand, and I'm not going to say who, but I had talked to Mickey about like advice, basically about it. And he looked at the board and he was like, "Get out of there." I was like, why? He was like, "It's just too bureaucratic." And, you know, they're not, he had some perspectives on like the way the business was run, and that these people, they don't know product, right? You know, so you're just going to be dealing with like the bureaucratic nature of business. And in the end, I think he was right. But I just thought
it all depends who you work for. I mean, it all depends if you have someone that has the right philosophy. Like it's not just bean counters. It's also just not all creative. Like you have to have, and that's the thing I think I learned from Mickey the most is like you need a balance of creativity and commerce. And it's always been a balance. And that's the one thing I learned from working from, you know, with him, but also from him. And so I have a really good head of business that I hired from J. Crew, as I mentioned it before, Alejandro Rhett. And he runs all the business side of things. So he's the merchant. He's the one always pushing the envelope for newness. And I'm, you know, me and the rest of my team design it. And I try to play Switzerland whenever I can, you know, not to like side too much on design side or merchandising side, but sometimes I know I need to cut through. So I'll lean in when they can't come up with a solution. So, but he's incredible at like thinking about what's new and different and making the right investment. And it's important to have that commerce side of things, because if you don't, you'll go out of business quick. And you can't all be design, and you can't all be commerce. If you only had commerce, you'd be boring as hell and you'd be out of business before you know it. So it's those two things together that I would say is probably equal parts that really makes for a successful business.
I love it. What's your number one marketing vehicle? Is it Instagram?
The number one marketing vehicle is probably, it's definitely Google Shopping is our biggest.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Google
Shopping is our biggest. Got big the last two. It used to be affiliate, used to be our biggest channel. So you've got about, I don't know, probably a dozen channels that we plan. Affiliate is, you know, working with the GQs of the world and Rob Reports of the world, and we piggyback onto some of their newsletters, and then we get orders from that. Or Google Shopping is just, you know, positioning ourselves in the right way on Google Shopping. That does really well for us. Social used to be big. It's still big. It's probably like our third biggest, like Facebook, Instagram.
Instagram's a weird place.
Yeah. TikTok a little bit, but most of it used to be social used to be our second biggest. It used to be affiliate, social, and then Google Shopping, and now it's Google Shopping and affiliate, and then social. And then we do a catalog, and that's fairly big customer acquisition tool. But we look at all channels. We're like a day trader, constantly just like, you know, what's working? Okay, pull out of that, go into this, okay, double down on that.